That's it.
Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back, because today I'm going to give you guys my review for a movie I had the chance to go see a couple weeks ago, and now I'm giving you guys my thoughts on it. Renfield. It is directed by Chris McKay and stars Nicholas Hoult, Nicolas Cage himself, and Awkwafina, Ben Schwartz, and more. And let me know down below in the comment section, what's your opinion and take on this movie? I'd love to know that. And with that said, let's get started. The movie follows Dracula's tortured assistant, Renfield, who does everything Dracula wants him to do, and after centuries of servitude, Renfield decides to try and leave that life behind and see if there's a life outside of the shadow of being the assistant to Dracula. I really liked the trailers for this movie, the idea that it's a horror comedy with Nicolas Cage himself as Dracula sounds like an excellent idea, and I love Nicholas Hoult. And I really liked a lot of the vibes the trailer was giving off. And Chris McKay directed the Lego Batman movie, which I thought was really great. So for a couple of months, I was really curious to see what was in store with Renfield. So now that I had the chance to see this movie, I liked it. It's a fun horror comedy movie with great performances from Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage. And when the movie focuses on those two, this movie shines. To kick off with the positives, I loved Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage in this movie. Their dynamic with one another is so fun and compelling to watch. Just seeing Nicholas Hoult play this tortured assistant to Dracula who does everything he wants him to and focus only on him and not so much on his own needs. And Nicholas Hoult is a really good actor, and I liked him. A lot of stuff I've seen, especially The Menu a couple of months back, and he is very good in this role. He has this nice presence, this charming personality to him as Renfield, where I connected with him, I cared for him, I want the best to happen to his character, and he's just so fun and a delight on screen. And Nicolas Cage's Dracula is fantastic. He stole the show every time he's on screen. And this is a movie where I would like it even more if he was in this movie more. But for the screen time that Nick has as Dracula, he delivered his 100% into this role. He is hysterical. He's funny. He's menacing. Very terrifying. Gives us a sense of urgency because of how his relationship with Renfield is like, and whenever he's on screen, I was on board with the movie. And Awkwafina's in this, and not too crazy about her side of the movie here, but I liked her in this movie as well with her comedic timing and whatnot. She does a lot of the stuff we expect from Awkwafina here, and I thought she was good for what she had to work with. And I love Ben Schwartz. Did not realize he was in this movie, and I thought he was also very fun in here as well. The action sequences and the CGI blood is insane. I did not know much about Renfield until I discovered right before I saw the movie that it was a project that came from Robert Kirkman. And this was something where I was shocked at how violent it gets. It's not violent in the sense of the realistic way. It's more violence in terms of in a cartoonish fashion because there's a lot of CGI blood. And this is one of the best uses of CGI blood I've seen in a while, because if you're going to use blood in a movie to this extent, make it look realistic in a way where I can buy into the fact that this is something happening. And majority of the time, it looks impressive here. It is gruesome. You see Renfield just mauling his way through people that are against him and using like arms to fight off other people. It is insane how graphic and wild this movie gets with the action sequences here. And they're very good. They're well choreographed here, and they really utilize the abilities of these characters very well. That it was just so entertaining to watch from beginning to end. And the comedy, majority of the time, also worked really well for me, especially on the Dracula side of this movie, where there are jokes every now and then revolving around Renfield's relationship with Dracula and Dracula doing his thing. And it just gets me laughing out loud. There are really good jokes in this movie that had me laughing in my seat from beginning to end throughout the movie. So as a comedy movie with some elements of horror in there, I thought it worked really well. A big theme of the movie is dealing with abusive and toxic relationships, especially with Renfield wanting to get away from Dracula and be his own man and not have to worry about Dracula's needs anymore, and how that came back to haunt him here. And I like a lot of the themes in this movie, dealing with corruption, dealing with abusive and toxic people and what you do in those kind of situations. And it does a good job of giving that message across, that find your way to be happy. Do not spend your life being in relationships with people that you don't like or people that are just rude and abusive towards you. And it really makes it so satisfying when we get to the ending of this movie. I really like just the themes and the messages that this movie is trying to give out. So while the movie works very well when it's about Renfield and Dracula, there's another subplot in this movie about Awkwafina's character, who's a cop. She's trying to take down a mafia within the city, and that side of the movie is serviceable. It's fine. There are moments in there I really like, especially with Ben Schwartz, but it's not as compelling as the story with Renfield and Dracula, because that story falls into a lot of the cliched tropes of what we tend to expect from movies where a character's trying to take down a whole mafia leader. And how that movie plays out with that side of things is, okay, there's aspects to it I like, but I don't think it was the highlight of the movie, and it made me want a lot more of Nicolas Cage's Dracula, because he's the scene stealer, and when he's on screen, it's a delight. But it does feel like when the movie's not about Renfield and Dracula's relationship and more on what's happening with like the mob side of the movie, it just isn't quite as interesting as that. And so that part of the movie is fine for what it is, but it's not something that I walked away feeling like a lot has really happened with it that was interesting. And then adding to that, it was a really short movie that I did want more of. Give me more about the history with Renfield and Dracula. And whenever it does do that, it's really cool with some tributes to older monster movies and the way it is filmed and shot. And then another thing is the editing within the action sequences can be pretty choppy, because the action is very highly stylized with the abilities and the camera work. And the action is very cool, but I do think at times the editing could have been a lot better. It feels like we cut away from things too quickly and the camera shakes up a little too much for me to comprehend what's happening on screen. But as a whole, I really liked Renfield. It's a fun and enjoyable horror comedy movie, and if you are someone that loves Dracula and you love these actors, I highly recommend you go see this movie. So in the end, I'm going to give Renfield a B. This movie is worth the price of admission if you are a fan of Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult. Both of them are great in this movie, and if you want just a fun little horror comedy movie with some Dracula elements in there, this movie is just for you, even if you're into the monster side of things. And I never knew how awesome Nicolas Cage was going to be as Dracula, because I already expected it to be very cool, but this movie does so many cool things with him in here, and I think he is fantastic casting as Dracula. So if you really like these kind of movies, I highly recommend you go see it in theaters when you can. So yeah, that's my review for Renfield. What are your thoughts on the movie? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I plan very soon. I'm going to have a review for Evil Dead Rise at some point, and for some upcoming videos coming soon. So stay tuned for all that fun stuff coming your way. And don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below. So please go do that while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And stay tuned for more.